the role to just revolutionize care for people and planet. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sir Atif, for this nice lecture. And really, Maliki, she's supporting the education of all the healthcare providers. And as you see, the website, for me as a junior wound care, really I learned a lot from the website of Maliki. Please, our next speaker is Mr. Adrian. He's the Director of Nursing Excellency from King Fahd Hospital Maternity Medical Complex. Please welcome Mr. Adrian. Sorry, I forgot something. Mr. Atif mentioned about a lot of things about pictures. Please don't forget taking the consent. Okay?
Good morning. I would like to thank the organizers of this course for inviting me specifically. I was already actually told before I start that I'm going to get questions, so that's a disclaimer from now. Anyway, my topic today will be about key performance indicators in wound care management. Now, key performance indicator in itself is broad, wound care management itself is broad. So let's mix that together and see where we get at. So when we talk about KPIs, there's a lot of insights. It's a whole big topic in itself. We see organizations inundated with so-called KPIs. But then I'd like to give you just a gist of what KPIs are from my perspective in 2 slides. When we say KPIs in healthcare, these are key. That means they are just the ones that are important. So it doesn't have to be many, they just need to be key. They indicate performance that may be related to safety, may be related to timeliness of care, may be related to effectiveness of care, efficiency, patient-centeredness, and equity. All these are what? My colleagues in quality. These are the dimensions of quality. So everything, every measurement, every key performance indicator dwells around this. So when you have a number with you that you are trying to measure, if it talks about any of these 6, then that is an important performance or key performance indicator. Another way to simply define KPI is that KPIs are those metrics that you have that measure your strategies, that measure your goals, that measure your objectives, and that measure your outcomes. Other than this, and other than what was previously mentioned in the previous slide, they may just be statistics. So when we say key performance indicators, they really have to be measures that talks about performance. So let's see how we can delve into key performance indicators in wound care. One of the research that I did talks about wound care quality in 3 interdependent dimensions. So wound care quality delves around these 3. What are they? One is about clinical effectiveness, and many of the previous speakers have already spoken about that. This is the achievement of timely healing through evidence-based interventions. And in fact, clinical effectiveness is the sole and the main benchmark of wound care management. Right? It's the goal, it's the main benchmark. Timeliness of healing. The sooner a wound can heal, the sooner can a person return to his normal life. Another area of concern, or an area where wound care quality encompasses, is about patient safety. So those indicators that talk about, infections, recurrence, treatment complications, and so on. And finally, it is about resource efficiency. Now, wound care is in itself a multi-million-dollar industry. It costs a lot for the organization, it costs a lot for the patients. So these are the three interdependent dimensions, and everything I think that we measure when it comes to wound care falls around one of these three. They have in the UK National Wound Care Strategy Program. It's a government program. I tried to search Saudi Arabia if we have, but I didn't see any. And they do have lots of indicators and measures. So one of the statistics that they have is that in the UK, 62% of clinics consistently document wound care dimensions. Now this, again, is about their compliance to the process of wound management. So anything that you can measure in quality are those that you can improve. If you cannot measure, you cannot improve. So with this number, it means that there is a big room for improvement. So these are examples of performance indicators that we look into and evidenced by the National Wound Care Strategy Program in the UK. Now, what are the consequences if we don't measure quality, if we don't measure care delivery in general? In terms of wound care, it can result in delayed healing progression. Again, another statistics given to us here by the National Wound Care Strategic Program is that there is a 28% longer treatment durations when compression therapy, this is for leg ulcers, initiation exceeds 14 days post-diagnosis for venous leg ulcers. We have a number, we have a measure, and that means this one can be improved. So imagine if these measures are not taken into consideration. Treatment can go blindly. When care delivery is not measured, it can result in increased complications, and it can also result in regulatory non-compliance. So some countries like the US, they have wound centers that monitor the care delivery, and it can result in financial losses for the organization. So let's go and dig deeper into what could be recommended core components of wound care KPIs. Let's start with structure indicators. Okay. So my colleagues in quality for sure know what structure indicator means. Structure means those are the things that we have, resources. So what are the things that we can look at in this regard when it comes to wound care or care delivery? Number one is about validation of staff competency. Now, we have nurses at the bedside who deal with patients other than the wound care nurses. Now, you can see here, this is another statistic that is provided, which says that annual certifications in wound assessment and advanced dressing applications, so this is about competency, reduce deviations from protocols by up to 44%. Measurable, it means it can be improved. Here is another interesting data that was published in the International Wound Journal. Simulation-based training improves compression therapy accuracy from 68 to 89%. Now, from a structure indicator perspective, these are some of the things that you can start looking into in your organizations. It can be looked at in different ways, but again, looking at how competent are our nurses to care for patients with wounds. Another one is the use of standardized assessment protocols. I was very interested when I saw this lower limb assessment essential criteria, because from the National Wound Care Strategic Program, their statistics shows that it increases complete documentation rates big time, from 51 to 83% within just 6 months. Now imagine if we use all of the AI technology tools that was presented earlier as far as documentation is concerned. And here is the last part of our structure indicators, which was already mentioned earlier. Enhancing our electronic health records with, dashboard, AI tools, and so on. Again, this also shows to improve compliance of reassessment intervals by 31% compared to paper systems. So that's a known fact, I think, for all. Now, when we look at the delivery itself, the clinical workflow itself, there are again many indicators that we can look into. We can look into initial comprehensive assessments, therapy initiation, not only compression therapy, but all other therapies that apply to wound. And then another important one is also multidisciplinary team reviews. Because again, as was mentioned by earlier speakers, wound care, wound management cannot be done solely by just one healthcare provider or by just the wound care specialist. It has to be a multidisciplinary approach. And on that process, if you want to measure success, then one of the things that we can measure is the frequency of these reviews. And finally, in terms of outcome, we know there are outcomes that matter to the organization, but there are also outcomes that matter to the patients. So one of the most commonly measured one is the healing rate. And there are specific benchmarks, for example, that are established by the US Wound Registry and the US Podiatry Registry for diabetic foot ulcers and pressure injuries. So in these statistics, the benchmark is that diabetic foot ulcers will have more than 50% reduction in 4 weeks. And again, this is based on evidence. This is based on the data that they have on the registry. For stage 3, stage 4 pressure ulcers, the expectation is that the closure should be within 16 weeks. For surgical wounds, there's another source that says that the complete epithelialization will be by at least 21 days. So again, when there are measures like this, you can benchmark or you can compare your performance in the organization against these established data sets. This one is also interesting. How many of you have seen this wound quality of life questionnaire? Yeah, it's a nice one, yeah? Yes. It's a questionnaire for the patient. It measures patient experience. This is why they call these patient-reported measures. So it can measure things like pain interference with daily activities, treatment satisfaction, and you have already a specified target. Self-care confidence. How confident are these patients in the communities with caring for themselves or caring for their wounds? That would also measure the effectiveness of the education that we give to those patients. So those are just examples of KPIs. Now, how do we move forward in an organization in terms of implementation? What should we do? How should we put a structure for that? This is an example of a phased adaptation strategy on how you can build your own database, your own KPI database specific for wound and wound management. This is a 12-month phased strategy. So the first 3 months can be dedicated to developing your infrastructure. Do you have the EHR modules that you can utilize, the templates? Do you have enough users that know how to use those modules? You need to conduct workflow analysis to identify whether there are documentation gaps. Now, specifically, in wound care, documentation is extremely important, as it is in any other health encounter. But specifically with wound care, because you compare description from the last time that the wound was seen to the description that is now. You compare a lot of things, size of the wound and so on. And then the next 4 to 6 months can be utilized by implementing at least 4 to 7 priority KPIs. And these KPIs can be in those areas where you have high volume of measures that you are. Establish real-time audit feedbacks, and then if the protocols need to be refined, then it needs to be refined during this phase. Then eventually, once you have a robust pilot, it can be rolled out system-wide, and by then you would already have a good and robust KPI monitoring process or system specific to wound management. Now, challenges. There are always challenges. The first thing is always, staff resistance. This is very common with any change. With any change, there will always be resistance. And this is a normal human reaction. We tend to react to change because our brain tells us that we are being taken out of our comfort zone. And with any change, I used to say this anecdote, with any change, people will react no matter how good the change. No matter how good the change. I used to give this anecdotal example that if your CEO would tell you today or next month you're gonna receive 500 reals bonus for each staff, people would still react. Why only 500? Why wait until next month? Human nature. So, with staff resistance, there are suggested solutions. Gamification, meaning to say, try to make it rewarding, incentivize. Give people reward, for example, for a 90-day, hitting a KPI target within 90 days. In fact, when this was tried, 60% increase in participation in competency training for this specific challenge. So incentivizing is one thing. The data collection is another burden. So an example of a solution, I hope our colleague from Analytics here, is if only we could have voice-to-text documentation, this would really help. Where you just have to dictate, and then with AI-assisted coding. In fact, when this was tried, it reduced documentation time by 42%.
We have it in our hospital.
That's good. And it is AI-assisted coding, yeah? And finally, you cannot remove the fact that sometimes our patients themselves are the ones that do not adhere to protocol. They forget, so that we only have limited control over, but at least again, use of technology, use of AI would hopefully help with that. So, in conclusion, high-performing wound care programs share 3 strategic focus areas. One, and I think it's very important even in any endeavor, is leadership commitment. Dedicating at least 15 to 20% of operating budget to quality infrastructure is very, very important. Data transparency. It's not only about collecting those data for KPIs, but as well as reporting them and see how it can be improved. And of course, nothing about me without me. Patients should always be involved. Co-partnering with them in designing their care is very, very important. Institutions who adopted this framework, and this is the reference, it was a 300-bed hospital, reduced wound-related hospitalizations by 41% and achieved 98% staff compliance with compression therapy for these specific protocols within 18 months. So this is just a framework for you to look into. And don't forget to always look beyond your data. So I'd like to end my my talk with this slide. It's now a total shift to quality, looking beyond your data. How many of you have seen this? How many of you have seen this?
We saw in the middle.
During World War II, all of the Allied forces airplanes that come back, they tried to analyze the bullet holes. And they came up with an idea that we need to make sure that these areas that are hit by the bullet will have more armor. It needs to be strong, because you see, the bullet holes are here. These are aeroplanes, warplanes that came back after they fly on a mission. But however, there was one mathematician who said that actually these are not the areas that we need to make strong. It's those areas. Why? These were aeroplanes that went to war and came back with these bullet holes. Everybody said we need to strengthen these areas that has bullet holes, but this mathematician said actually we need to strengthen these areas. Why? This is Abraham Wald. He was a mathematician at that time. Because the planes that were hit here never returned back. You got the logic? They never returned back. These planes that return back means that they can still function with this one. But when the planes are hit here,